This is the Mobile Tech Podcast, brought to you by worldpodcasts.com. Now here's your host, Tech Girl, Miriam Joire.
Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joire, and today is Tuesday, February 5th, 2019. My guest is Jaime Rivera. Hi, Jaime, how are you?
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for the invite again. It's such a pleasure to be back.
Absolutely. You know, I wanted you on the CS show, but you couldn't make it. So I figured, let's try to get Jaime on sometime after CS, and here you are.
Thank you so much. I apologize. Travel has been just so bad, Miriam.
Don't worry. I know it's been the same for everyone. I haven't traveled too much since the beginning of the year, mostly just CS, but obviously there's all kinds of things coming up, MWC in particular, and I do want to talk a little bit about that.
Ooh, yeah.
But I got a bunch of stuff. The kind of, speaking of MWC, the thing that totally crazy news of the week, to me anyway, is this announcement by Energizer that they're going to launch 26 devices at MWC. Have you seen that?
I saw it, but for me, it's I don't know. In addition to the 26, it's did you see the one of 18? What is it?
Yeah,
18,000?
I want us to dig into that a little bit, but there's so much weirdness in this announcement. First of all, 26 phones. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
Secondly, I know some of these are dumb phones, but secondly, 18,000 milliamp hour phone, right?
Yeah.
And then there is all these phones with electric selfie cameras that pop up, like the Vivo Nex, the original Vivo Nex, but they make the things look like a battery in outline when they're raised, right?
Well, if you think about it, I mean, that's what their business is.
Of course, but I think it's very clever.
Yeah. It would be a complete irony for you to have an Energizer phone that doesn't keep going and going and going.
Yeah, but I'm sure that they're only making one that's 18,000 million, 1,800, I mean. No, 18,000.
18,000. I don't know. Jeez. Can we even travel with an 18,000? Oh, yeah. The limit, I believe, is 22,000.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, 22,000 is 100 watt hours or something like that.
It's
which
crazy.
Is the limit. Yeah, it's the limit. How much do you think that battery's going to last?
Let's see. So let's look at a phone like the Mate 20 Pro or the Note 9 or the View 20. They're 4,000 milliamp hours or so, and they last, I'd say people can easily get 2 days, yeah?
Yep, pretty much.
So
Mate
now
20 Pro,
4,000
yes.
goes into 18,000 4 times and a bit. So we're looking at a week. Jesus.
A week, or in our numbers, it would be 3 days and a half, probably.
Well, yeah, for us it's different. Maybe 5 days for us.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, it's a lot. It's a long time.
But what do you think? First of all, who do you think their ODM is? Because it looks like if they're doing something with Vivo or something like that.
It's a Shenzhen Parts Bin Special. Okay. That's the ODM. No, I don't know, man. You're right. It could be anyone. It could totally be BBK, but it could also be TCL.
It could be. And then there's this other company. You remember Elephone from Hong Kong?
Oh, yeah, Elephone.
They were doing slider phones as well, or at least they announced a few. I'm not exactly sure if they ended up launching them or not, but I mean, you never know.
You know, the other thing it could be is somebody reverse engineered BBK in terms of the slide out mechanism for the stuff. I mean, it's not rocket science to build a slide out mechanism. If you watch Zach's, Jerry Rig Everything's, tear apart videos, it's not like anyone with a bit of an engineering background could make a phone like that. The question is how reliable it'd be long term, right?
Exactly.
So I don't expect these phones to be particularly great in any way, shape, or form. Maybe I'm being pessimistic. Maybe Energizer is getting serious. Maybe in a few years, Energizer phones will be a thing. Jaime, what is the world coming to?
But what do you think about this? I mean, the industry that's making the least amount of money right now is smartphones. Truly, they're going to get a lot of cash flow because there is a lot of in and out. But, companies, which are the companies that are making money from phones right now? Only the companies that own the services, like Apple, like Xiaomi. These are the companies that are making money. But then the others are just, smartphone sales, bare bones, pretty much. I don't know.
Yeah,
What do you think?
and I think this is what this is going to fit into. Think about this for a second. How many companies make USB cables?
That's a good question.
They still exist. Like, to me, when I try to wrap my head around, being in Shenzhen, being an entrepreneur, being a business person, nothing fancy, like the evolution of the mom and pop Chinese restaurant type of business.
Yeah.
And I'm making USB cables. Like, I can't actually have a really hard time wrapping my head around this idea, because I'm like, why would you want to make USB cables? Not because USB cables are unsexy. They're obviously a necessity. People lose them and break them all the time. So there's a need for them, but like, how unsexy is that? How like everyone can make a USB cable is that? Why would you even compete in a market where you probably have 100 factories or more, maybe thousands of factories making USB cables?
But
Yet
then again,
they do it.
They do have a unique selling point, which I feel is a lot better than the Pepsi phone, if you remember, or the KFC phone.
Oh, Jesus. But no, my point, you see what I'm saying? So for Shenzhen, I think this makes perfect sense. There can be 100 factories making, knockoffs of the, even at this point, OnePlus knockoffs, you know what I'm saying?
True.
Because they can and they will, and for them it's a viable business model because they can be competition because there is demand, I guess. People, remember, we in the West, and you probably know this from South America, we in the West are the kind of the exception because we all buy flagships all the time.
True that.
I mean, the rest of the world, especially India, South America, Africa, does not run on flagship phones. If they run on any smartphone at all, we're talking about, mid-range at best.
Mid-range at best, and and it depends. Like I still know people here who use feature phones simply because like they haven't felt the need to upgrade to a smartphone.
Exactly.
There's still a market like that.
So what I'm saying is even China itself, right, has, what is it now? Like billion, more than that, right? It's a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember my history lessons from when I was in high school, but as you and I know, we're both old and numbers have changed a lot since then. Anyway, the point is there's so many people that need smartphones all the time that there might be a viable business in having a company in Shenzhen among 100 other companies make kind of, Shenzhen parts bin special phones and then partnering with Western brands to get that branding. And that's what we're seeing in these Energizer phones. I don't expect these phones to be terrible. I don't expect these phones to be great. I expect these phones to be different. And that's why I'm kind of fascinated. I'm just a little puzzled by the number though, 26. Wow.
That is crazy. But then again, if you think about it, you and I were at MediaTek. You and I were in Taipei. Yeah. You remember that presentation we got where they were talking to us about the next billion, like how they're more focused in the next billion and not in the current market. I think that if those 26 phones are oriented towards, the entry level, people that, don't want to pay a lot for a phone, but they do care about battery life and they are road warriors, etc. I think that they could probably end up with a hit. I mean, why not?
Yeah, no. Look, as I said, I think there's room for this. And if they play their marketing card right, that 18,000 milliamp phone could be kind of like the Cat series phones, the rugged phones that have the FLIR camera and stuff. Like they're a valid market. Like they're not, I wouldn't want that phone personally, but I can totally understand like there's a niche of people for whom that phone is perfect.
Exactly.
Because it is indestructible and they need those features. I think there is a bunch of people out there. I know like a lot of my friends who are like #van life, camping in there, living out of their vans, very outdoorsy, who might not need a rugged phone, but they could certainly use the battery power and maybe even the ability to use the phone as a battery pack for something else, right? Then this
is going to be your Burning Man phone.
Perfect sense. Yeah, I mean, I could bring that phone, if the camera is any good, I could bring that phone there and use that phone with a single charge the whole week.
Yeah,
Crazy.
definitely.
Well, anyway, I mean, I think it's cool, and I think you can't ignore this, and I'm certainly going to go check them out at MWC when I'm there.
You bet. When are you landing?
I'm actually getting to Spain early to take a few days and wander around southern Spain. So I'm missing Samsung in San Francisco because I can't change my flight. Because I'm getting there on the 13th.
Oh my God, Miriam. How did Samsung mess us up with this schedule?
They don't give a crap about us, clearly. 2 weeks ago, I had this rant on the podcast here with David ML.
Oh,
and
nice.
it's like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure I'm hoping that all of us media have expressed very clearly how annoyed we are with Samsung to them, because I certainly have sent them a very polite but very firm email saying, this is not cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the first time it's in my own town, and you're doing it 2 days before we all have to be at MWC. I mean, to answer your question, after my little trip around southern Spain, I will be back in Barcelona on the 22nd, the Friday. So I'll be, hitting the ground running without jet lag, which will be awesome because I'll have been there for 10 days to do all the stuff on Saturday and Sunday. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I think personally, I feel that Samsung, I'm sure that the people who have the money were able to change their flights or paid for changing their flights and are still pissed off because it's really messing with their schedule, right?
Miriam, think about it. I mean, I'm in the East Coast, and so for me, there are no flights to Spain from LA
no
or San
direct
Fran.
flights. No,
you have to go to the East Coast, so I have to fly San Fran, Newark, Barcelona. How is that? It's a 14-hour trip for me with a connection.
I know.
It's insane. I was like, what the?
But you're going, right?
Well, I don't have a choice. I mean, usually that's just the way it is. I mean, if we want to get the content, if we want to get the coverage, I mean, what other hot phones have we been covering lately, if not the Galaxy S10? I mean, we can't just say, well, no, we're not going, And sure, right. I mean, you're going to be at MWC. You could most probably see them from the booth.
Well, that's my goal. I mean, honestly, I cannot change my flight. I basically, because I didn't get a sponsorship to go to MWC from anyone. Mm-hmm. I'm on my own money there as a single person publication. My budget's not huge for that stuff. So I'm actually using my air miles to go to Barcelona. So guess what? That means I can't change my flight. I would have to basically throw away my air miles and book something and pay for it if I wanted to do it. So I'm not doing it. And especially since I'm already going to be there for something else. So I'm like, too bad. My goal is I'm going to hit the Samsung booth the first time I get a chance. In the back, they always have the press area where they have phones untethered that you can take video and content off. And I'll be late on my coverage, but that's the best I can do. I can't multiply myself. So
no, and in my case, I was being dogged because I was able to get a sponsor, and I was being dogged for 2 weeks. We need your dates. We need your dates for the plane ticket, to buy your plane ticket.
Of course you did.
And I don't know why. I had this hunch that I had to wait. And so I took forever. And when I least expected, the day that I was going to send my dates is when I found out that they were going to announce it not to happen in Barcelona, but somewhere else. And I'm like, no. And so I waited an extra 2 days, and out of the blue, boom, it's not going to be New York because, it's always snowing in that season. So I get it. But oh my God, have to fly to San Fran and then back to Barca? It's crazy. But anyways.
It's stupid. Well, I will be watching your coverage with a bated breath. And, I apologize to the listeners. I won't have my first impressions until a little later. Obviously, I will talk about it in the podcast extensively.
And you're not going to be the only one, Miriam. I mean, a lot of people, I'm just lucky that I hadn't bought my ticket. But a lot of people are just, they weren't planning for it. And just think about it. Just Barcelona is going to be grueling. It always is. With the amount of work that we have to do. And so it's I seriously thought I have to skip. And I was like, you can't skip. What are you going to do? What if they hand out review units or something?
I'll be frank with you that if I hadn't booked my flight or there was a way to change my flight, I would not have skipped, especially since I'm already in SF. It's not like...
Exactly. And so my plans were actually to arrive in Barcelona early, just like you, be able to get rid of the jet lag 2 days early and then handle the show. And obviously Unpack was going to be part of it. And then out of the blue, boom, no. In the United States, seriously?
Like, I think they should have done it a week before or something. Then it would have made more sense. I mean, I still couldn't have made it, but whatever. That's my problem. I think a lot of people would have had more flexibility.
And you're lucky that you're in San Fran, but most of us are in New York.
Right.
Like not all of us have an office in San Fran in the West Coast. So anyway, it was like, all right, fine, let's just get it over with.
You know the other nightmare that we all lived for a few hours was, remember when Huawei invited us to their press conference at 2:00 on Sunday, I mean, and then LG sent the invite but didn't send the time, and you know how LG traditionally does it early afternoon, and all I could imagine in my head was they're going to conflict, but they didn't. Obviously they paid attention to each other's stuff.
Oh my God! But I hate. Have you seen your schedule for Sunday the 24th?
It's insane. I don't think I'm going to be able to make Microsoft because it's between Nokia and LG, and honestly, those two are more important than the HoloLens 2 for me.
I'm glad that they haven't reached out. I'm hearing it from it now, and I'm glad they haven't reached out. I'm just going to duck and not say anything.
Yeah, they haven't reached out to me either, and I'm kind of happy, honestly. It's like, wow.
Well, yeah, and Microsoft's presence in MWC has been like really low ever since they lost Windows Phone.
Yeah, I mean, obviously. I mean, I think HoloLens 2 is going to be a big deal, though. And
I don't know. I have my reservations over. I don't know. I've seen much AR.
It's going to be hype, is what I'm saying. No matter what, it's going to generate traffic.
Yeah, it will, and I'll most probably go see it at their booth at some point. But it's so hard.
Care as much. Yeah.
And it's also just so hard to make a video about something that you can't show people.
Yeah, it's true.
It's just very difficult. When I saw the original HoloLens presentation, I'm like, how do I know this is real or fake? How do I know that this is staged or not? There's no way.
Right.
Right. And so aside from showing off the headset, that's all I could do.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I'm excited about what Nokia is obviously going to show. I mean, I don't know anything. I haven't been briefed yet, but it's coming. There's been lots of rumors of that Nokia 9 with 5 pure view cameras. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So, needless to say, I'm going to be at the Nokia thing.
Good. I'm hoping that it is that. I mean, oh my God, I think my best performing video, for the past 2 weeks has been the Nokia 7.1. It's
a great device, I had one
and I'm
for a little while.
People, yeah, and I'm shocked at how people are so receptive of Nokia coming back. I like that. That's great.
Well, I think our audiences are pretty nerdy and into it. I think a lot of us, I think there's younger people who don't remember Nokia like we do, but I think there's a lot of people in our audience, who had a Nokia phone before the iPhone, like a Symbian N series or something, and they, or they had a Windows phone and they love it. I mean, Anshel, who was on the show last week, was telling us how he pulled out his Lumia 1020 recently. He was talking about this on Facebook and Twitter, and saw, he saw pictures he took with a 1020, and he was amazed at how good they were. I mean, there's a lot of people who have nostalgia around that.
We should do a photo comparison between the 1020 and the Mate 20 Pro.
Yeah. Absolutely. That'd be interesting.
I mean, it's the same guy. You know that the leadership that's in charge of the camera for the Mate 20 Pro is the same people from Nokia that made the PureView.
Right. No, I know. Yeah. So I'm really stoked about this Nokia thing. It'll be interesting. I don't know. I think that to me that's kind of what I'm looking forward to the most. I saw your daily show on Friday where you talked about all the folding phones, the invite for Huawei has the folding phone in it. And we know there was a leak of a Samsung video. And honestly, it's cool as a nerd. I'm like, of course, this is cool folding display, whatever. But I don't see a use case for these devices, So I don't get it yet. I don't think we have a use case yet.
I'll give you one. Bear in mind, I completely agree with you. I think that folding products are a solution in search of a problem. And these companies just need a vanguard product. Like, who knows who Royale, that company, nobody knew what that company was until they came up with a folding phone. So that's like a very cheap way to get marketing. Like, because everybody went to their booth at CES simply because of that folding product. And then you found out that they also made other phones. But before that, like, for me, it's just the marketing stunt to a certain degree. But I mean, we were in Taipei. How many people did you see taking photos and just using tablets as smartphones? You remember those Asus tablets that also had cellular connectivity on them and that you could use them as phones?
Yeah, I do.
I saw a ton of people using that, like Nexus 7 designs. Like, and so obviously for people like them in markets like China, like, I think that it's going to be a huge hit over there because I have seen a ton of people over there using tablets as phones. I find it to be funny, but it's a thing over there.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I'm just saying, like, does it justify the cost when you can pick up a tablet so cheaply?
Well, but that's the thing. Like, I feel that the speculation over the price tag is not, it's not going to happen. They can't price it that way. Like, I mean, like, there's just no way. You have so many tablets right now you can get for $200, $100. It's not going to happen. I don't think that's...
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
I don't think it doesn't matter. Like, what are they going to tell me? Oh, because we have a flexible OLED now. We've been having flexible OLEDs in products since when? Since the G4?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of part of the point I'm making is that like, it's, I get the coolness of that, and I get the potential use cases as you indicated, but for me, I don't see a use case. And for the kind of people who spend $1,500, $1,600, $1,700, other than bragging rights, I don't see a use case, you know?
Think about it. I think that the only way that I would be willing, like if it were my money, the only product that I'd be willing to put money down for is that Razer rumor of a foldable old V3. That for me would be it. But then my concern is a plastic display. Like, you know how that's going to age. It's not going to age well.
Yeah, remember the V30?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, I agree with you. I actually think that to me, the Razer from Moto, this revival of the Razer, is the most compelling scenario I've seen for a phone like that, because it's got the nostalgia factor. It makes sense to have the folding display for that, because really what it is it's not going from phone to tablet, it's going from half phone to full phone. And
exactly.
And
if you think about it, this gives you the option to...
You know, it's a good use case. I mean, half the time you can use the outside display, see who's calling, answer the call, right? And you flip it open and you take the call. And the other time, you know, you can have one app on the top, one app on the bottom, or one long app and scroll through. I think that's cool. That's perfect. And, you know, I think with the rumors that we talked about 2 weeks ago of the Xperia XZ4 that's coming at MW, potentially having an aspect ratio of 21:9.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I've been saying for a while is the future. I really feel that having more vertical real estate on our phones so that they can be narrower and you can hold them with one hand and still use them is the future. Because that way you can have if you really need to use them one-handed, you only use the bottom half of the phone, right?
True that.
And so you can still have the real estate when you need it and when you want it, and you get super wide angle, like, you know, wide view when you watch videos and stuff. You know, Marquez now shoots at some kind of weird wider than 16:9 aspect ratio. I think he's using 19 or 18:9 or something.
Yeah, he's doing 18:9, which I like. I get like 5 comments out of 500 all the time asking us to move to 18:9,
Really?
and I'm like, listen, try to watch an 18:9 video on a Pixel 3 XL, and you tell me if you like it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, look, I think I'm excited to see that we're going to see some potentially more than that Royal phone we saw at CES that we're going to get hands on with folding phones from Samsung at the Samsung event and at MWC, and from Huawei at the Huawei event. But frankly, I'm much more excited about the Nokia, you know, whatever it's called, Nokia 9 PureView madness. And I'm more excited about if they announce the P30 from Huawei, or if they announce the LG G8. or if they announce, whatever it might be. I'm kind of more looking forward to those phones that we expect to come at MWC, because I want to see this year how it evolves. I want to touch on the Honor View 20 a little bit with you later, but to me, that phone is started the year with such excitement and pizzazz and made such a good intro to the year, that I'm hoping that post MWC will come out saying, you know what, this is going to be we're going to continue saying this is going to be a great year for smartphones, despite, the fact that the sales are slowing down and people are just thinking of phones as commodities of slabs of glass and metal that are all the same. I want us to kind of break that this year and say, you know what, that's all kind of true, but at the same time, we're seeing more diversity than we've ever seen in the ecosystem.
And not only that, I mean, think about, like, if we talk about devices like the Mate 20 Pro, for example, like, there is so much added value in a product like that. Like, my biggest problem is I think that the smartphone market has slowed down, and what companies have been doing is raising their prices, obviously, to adjust for the lack of demand, and that's a downward spiral. That's not gonna that's not gonna work.
Sustainable. No,
that's
totally.
not sustainable. And so the biggest problem is, if you're going to charge me more money and yet you're going to give me more of the same, then I'm not willing to pay for it. But if you give me a 40 megapixel camera that gives my, your typical Panasonic G7 and a G85 a run for its money, oh my God. Okay, fine. Now we're talking.
And we're getting there very slowly. I mean, we've seen what the P20 Pro and the Mate 20 Pro has brought to the table, Pixel 2 XL or Pixel 2 in general, Pixel 3 in general.
Yeah.
And I would argue that the View 20 Pro, the View 20, no, there's no View 20 Pro. The Honor View 20, the 48 megapixel, it shows us something we kind of saw with the PureView phones, the 808 PureView Symbian phone and the 1020 after it, the Windows phone. The whole pixel binning, the ability to shoot, that they have that mode called the clarity mode or whatever at 48 megapixel, which takes multiple shots at 48 megapixels and it basically creates like a super high res photo out of it, and it looks so good. It's so amazing. I mean, it's kind of a one trick pony in that sense, the View 20, but at the same time, we know that technology is going to make it down and other people are going to adopt it. So I'm really stoked to see what Nokia brings to the table with their 5 cameras. And, we already saw the whole bunch of manufacturers that are coming out with 3 cameras in the back, Samsung with the S10. I wouldn't be surprised if Apple does 3 cameras this year on one device,
But do you think they're going to make the jump to higher resolution photography, which I think is the way to go for smartphones? I mean, if you can't easily fit optical zoom on those things, give me more resolution and I'll just crop into it.
They're going to add, it's Apple. They're very conservative in many ways. Sometimes they introduce something that, people copy, like the notch and the Face ID, and like before that, Touch ID, in the sense that they do it right, but because they weren't the first with a notch, they weren't the first with fingerprint authentication. But I think Apple is going to add wide angle and keep it to that. I think they're just going to continue what they have and refine it. I think we're going to have to look at Android and Nokia and Huawei and Samsung and LG and, the existing companies that have been well known for pushing the envelope in terms of imaging on mobile to bring us the innovation. It might not be perfectly polished, unlike Apple, but it will show us the way of the future, right?
I think so. I think that Apple is one of the companies that is in most need of coming up with something that's not just another iterative update. I think the iPhone 11 needs to be more than just less of a notch. It has to be about something else.
Well, I agree, but I'm not seeing that anytime soon. I think Apple right now, based on their recent results and I wouldn't say struggles because they're still doing great, but like they're certainly there's some signs of difficulties, and that's fair. I think everybody's experienced that. I think generally speaking, it's a reflection of the economies of the world, the regime in the U.S., and the trade wars that are happening because of it, etc. But I think what's going on here is Apple needs an iPhone SE version 2.0 really badly.
Yes,
They need
do.
something to undercut the XR, the 10R, which is a great phone. In my opinion, is my phone pick of the year for Apple. Oh, I think it's the one to get because you know what? You get better battery life. You get the same great camera and processor, and the camera, honestly, it takes better portraits than the 10S and 10S Max because it doesn't rely on the telephoto for the bokeh. So it actually gives you better low light performance for portraits. Try them side by side. Take a portrait in low light with a 10S and a 10R, and the 10R will walk all over the 10S. It's insane. And so to me, the only negative and pricing is great, and I love the colors. The only negative is it's a little big for what it is, and it's for an Apple iPhone, an entry-level price iPhone, and the display resolution. But we all know the display is gorgeous. It's just we're nitpicky about the resolution because we can't get our heads around the fact that it doesn't even do 1080, right? No. So if you can get past that, I think it's the best phone they make right now. If I had to buy an iPhone like at gunpoint right now, I would just instantly buy an XR. Like it would just be like that's the one.
Impulsive buy.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you can trade in an old iPhone right now and get a discount on it from Apple directly.
Interesting. No, for me,
so that's my opinion. And I want to see. I love the SE when it came out. Now it's long in the tooth. But I want to see.
Theo still has it, right?
Yeah, Theo loves their SE. So imagine for a second that form factor, that chassis, right? Yeah. Imagine in your head that chassis. Now stretch the screen to all the edges.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Put a hole punch or a notch, okay, for the front facing. Put Face ID on there, and give the display at least the same 848 across resolution as the 10R. Yeah. Put last year's this current processor, what is it, 812 now, Bionic?
812, yeah.
Yeah, put that in there, put the same camera module as the 10R in there, and sell that for $100 less than a 10R.
Oh, I think, and if they would put an LCD on that thing, that
has to be an LCD. It would be an LCD. Like, I don't care.
But that battery life would be epic, which would be great.
Think about how people who want that form factor, that size, would benefit from the larger screen real estate instantly.
I think that was the phone that should have been launched. I think that's the phone. Yeah. But
I think that when they were planning the 10R, they didn't see. I don't think they could predict that things were going to go the way they went. Even though Apple's very smart, I think that they kind of always dismiss the SE, and the fact that they brought it back on sale recently, as you know, right? The SE, you can buy it again. Yep. To me, and I mean, I wouldn't buy it now because it's a little long in the tooth, but man, that tells me everything I need to know. If it's basically Apple saying, mea culpa, we admit we need to have a phone like this in the lineup. I would be mind-bogglingly disappointed if they did not have something to replace the SE next year.
Well, and you have that, and you also have the case where even the iPhone 10 is now being sold again as a refurb, just like in the case of the SE.
Exactly. That just got announced. So here's my I even have a name for that phone.
It's
the iPhone 10R Mini.
10R Mini. Okay.
Because you had 10S Max, right?
Or the iPhone 10 Mini.
Well, yeah, okay. So then maybe, next, see, I'm really thinking Apple needs to go away from the Max stuff. So I really ideally want Apple to have the XS or the 10S and the 10R series, and it's like the MacBook versus MacBook Pro, and they come in different sizes. You don't specify the size, like you just say, I have the big one, The box just says 10R or 10S, you know what I'm saying? That's what they need to do.
Or they could just call it iPhone. Think about it. I mean, the original
iPhone, that would amaze. That was something they should have done when they only had two models, honestly, a long time ago. And it would, when we review it, we would put iPhone and in brackets 2019, next to it.
They should have. And if you think about it, the original iPhone was, by today's standards, a small phone. So, I mean, why not just call it iPhone? Just that. Yeah. Like what they did with the iPad.
Cool. Back to roots, yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, we kind of touched on Samsung because we ranted about their boneheaded decision to screw us all over. But I want to touch on some rumors and leaks related to MWC and the S10. Getting back on topic a little here. FCC certified the S10 in all its shape and forms. And so the S10, S10 Plus, and S10e, which is the economy, which is I'm calling it now. I think a lot of people, it's not my calling it, but I've seen somebody say this and I believe they're right. It is going to be the iPhone XR competitor, the XSE. They passed through the FCC. They got approved, so we know they're coming. I wouldn't be surprised if they go on sale while we're at MWC, to be honest.
Why not? I mean, think about it.
Or pre-orders the day of, because I have a feeling they're ready to roll with these things. So the other thing the FCC revealed, which is interesting, is that you might have heard of this thing called Wi-Fi AX, which is a successor to Wi-Fi AC, and these phones have it. But not only that, nowadays they've renamed the Wi-Fi ecosystem to numbers, and so it's Wi-Fi 6, in case you're keeping track at home. AC is Wi-Fi 5.
Okay.
So 5 plus 1 is 6, and that's what you're going to get on your Galaxy S10 if you buy one. So time to go out there and buy a Wi-Fi 6 compatible router if you haven't already, so you can have faster wireless transmissions between two Galaxy S10s in your house, because you're going to buy one for your spouse as a 2-in-1 BOGO thing, and then your laptop, because I don't know how many laptops have AX or Wi-Fi 6 nowadays,
I just bought a brand new MacBook Pro, and I don't think it has AX.
Probably
but
not.
I remember, and that's the thing, I remember that the Snapdragon 855 supports AX.
Yeah.
So I think that it's not just going to be the Galaxy. It's every device with the 855 is going to bring it.
Yeah, I hope so. And Bluetooth 5. It doesn't have 5.1 though. 5.1 was just announced not too long ago, and it supports location, like accurate down to something like an inch or something, which is kind of amazing, because you'll be able to find your keys not just in your couch, but you find your keys in the right cushion of your couch.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that was an announcement a couple of weeks ago. Added to the show notes. It's kind of cool. I am serious. So 5.1 adds much more accurate location between two devices by using some fancy triangulation techniques of like seeing echoes bouncing off walls and stuff. Yeah, cool stuff, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm looking forward to it. Like,
so what do you think of? I mean, we've covered the leaks on the show here for a few weeks now. You obviously cover them daily on the Daily Show on Pocketnow. So, what is your take on the S10 this year?
For me, probably the most important thing from the FCC for me was 3 devices. Like, we've been covering rumors of 4 and up to 5 units. At least we know that at Unpacked, most probably we're only going to get to see 3. Only
3. Can you imagine how much work that's going to be?
But for me, I don't know. I wasn't necessarily happy with the Galaxy S9 Plus, and then the Note 9 came. Like, it's funny how the S9 Plus and the Note 9 both run the same software, both run the same internals, and yet I feel that the Note 9 performs so much better. And so, like, right now with the change to One UI, with the possibility of better cameras, because I don't know if you saw the news about DJ Ko coming on record and being like, these phones are not going to disappoint. And the company president has instructed that he wants the best camera on these phones. So I'm like, Samsung is one of those companies that's willing to throw their R&D at anything and just come up with something crazy. So I can't wait to see what they're going to come up with. Like, the rumors are... I
actually think the camera system is going to be kind of like what I proposed with Apple for this year. 3 cameras, and one is wide, one is tele, one is regular, all stabilized, all high quality optics, all fast lenses, all good sensors, and really, really thoroughly tuned software. It's not going to be revolutionary technologically. It's probably going to be pretty revolutionary in the results.
Exactly, refined, which is what Samsung's been doing really well for the past,
We're going to see the dual aperture on the main camera for sure. We're going to see, a lot of techniques used by Google for AI, doing bokeh and stuff like that applied more aggressively, kind of like Huawei has and Honor have the AI cams and stuff. Because Samsung hasn't really pushed too hard on the AI side of imaging yet. I think that's going to be the big push these 3 phones, and of course the Note 10 after that.
But tell me something, Miriam. Like, how do you feel about that variable aperture? Because, like, in my case, I'm disappointed in that particular part. Like, I feel that the shutter speed on these phones is terrible. Like, if you want to catch moving subjects at night with any Galaxy, forget it. Like, it's going to look moved.
I think you have to use manual mode to really benefit from the dual aperture. I think this is the only way you can really benefit from it right now.
True. But I mean, I feel that variable, because I don't remember those problems with the Note 8, for example. Like, it would just snap the photo. And one of the things that I used to love about Galaxies in the time of the Note 8 and the S8 was you would look at the viewfinder at night and it would look like grainy and stuff. And it was like, just take the shot. Don't worry about it. Let the phone do its processing. And so I could trust an S8 or a Note 8. I can't trust the Note 9 or the S9.
I agree, but I don't think that's a byproduct of the dual aperture. I think it's a byproduct of, well, it is somewhat. I think what it is that it's a new technology for them. They still need to optimize the software. We're going to see that refined and improved significantly this time around. Yeah. I think on paper, having dual apertures is kind of like having OIS. It only adds it's only a benefit, but it's again only a benefit once you tune the software properly, right?
Yeah, true that.
But I've done some great shots with the manual mode in f/1.5, like, because I can actually get bokeh that's natural. Like, you can actually, if you go to manual mode, set the aperture to 1.5 in daylight, you can shoot up close up to something, and the bokeh you see in the background is completely real, and it's really nice. Yeah, no, so doing portraits with manual mode, not using the portrait mode software feature is actually one of the things that I feel that the S9 or the S9 Plus and the Note 9 this year were the best. In fact, the S9 does it too, because you don't need a secondary camera to do portraits if you manually shoot at f/1.5.
True that. That is.
It looks incredible.
Yeah, that is right. I don't know. That's my take for Samsung.
I agree. I don't feel that, to me, I would pick I look at my 50 or so phones from last year that I got, because I generally get about one a week. So that's kind of how I think I have about 50, right? Like FedEx or UPS or DHL show up once a week, right, with a new phone. And I'm like, okay, well, if I'd narrowed that down to 10 top tier phones, which are the ones I would grab for photography? The Samsungs do not cut it for me, even though they are so good. They are very, very close to the top. But there are, between my Pixel 3, Pixel 3 XL, and my XL being a daily driver, always being with me, and the Mate 20 Pro having lived in my pocket continuously as a secondary phone, and then now the View 20, and a bunch of other imaging phones that I felt have done a very good job, like the P20 Pro earlier this year. I don't know if I even want the Samsung phones for imaging or an iPhone for imaging. I mean, they're good, don't get me wrong. If that's what you're rocking right now, you're in good shape. But for me, it's not what I would go for. Like, I think there are better choices.
Yeah, not in the time of a Mate 20 Pro. It's very difficult. It is very difficult to compete with that phone.
Mate 20 Pro just, if you look at my Instagram right now, folks, this week, you will see I took photos of View 20 on a View 20 to put on Instagram, like a back photo and a front photo of like the top third of the phone, right? Mm-hmm. So that I can show off the beautiful chevron back, blue glass back that's etched, and show the front hole punch camera. Mm. And if you look at these photos, they were taken with a Mate 20 Pro and telephoto in average indoor light. And don't tell me, look at them and don't tell me this blows your mind, because they do blow your mind, because they look like DSLR photos.
They do. I've taken photos of my kids, blurred backgrounds. Sorry, not blurred, but like bright backgrounds. It's very difficult for a camera to meter in those conditions.
Oh my God, yeah.
And oh my God, so one of the things that I love about Panasonic's is their use of grain. Anything that's Leica, their use of grain and their use.
Fuji does the same. I love how their digital photos feel like film photos.
Exactly. They feel like film photos. And so they provide that sort of like film look. So I felt that the P20 Pro didn't do that, but the Mate 20 Pro is like the matured version of it. And my God, like I used to love the Mate 10 Pro for that. And I feel that the Mate 20 Pro just takes it to the next level. Like I have photos of my kids that I'm like, God, I I can't. Like, I'm not saying the Pixel is not a great camera. Of course it is. It's for me, it's probably one of the best cameras. It's just that I feel like if you have been used to using DSLRs, you will feel more at home with a Mate 20 Pro than with a Pixel. It's just the Mate 20 Pro behaves more like a camera.
The fact that you have a manual mode and you don't have that on the Pixel unless you install a third-party app, which doesn't benefit from all the AI features of Google anyway, so then it's moot. No, I agree. To me, the Pixel 3 is the bulletproof point-and-shoot phone, right?
True. It's the all-rounder. It's the camera you can trust.
The Mate 20 and P20, but mostly the Mate 20 Pro, are the creative photography phones. If you have an ounce of photographer in you, forget the fact that it has EMUI. Forget the fact that it's expensive. Forget the fact that, the under display fingerprint reader is a little slower, sometimes annoying. Forget XYZ. Just don't even think. Buy that phone. Use it for a year. Take the best photos you've ever taken in your life on a mobile device, and just go with it, because it is so good. I cannot reinforce how good it is. Yeah, no. For me, it's just I'm waiting for one Android OEM to figure out video like an iPhone, and then we'll talk. Like, hasn't
for me,
Samsung done a really good job with video?
And I don't think that it's a Samsung problem or a Huawei problem. I think it's a codec problem. I could show you videos, like whenever we meet again, most probably in Barcelona, I will show you videos that I shot with my iPhone 4 in 720p in 2010, and you would not believe that it was a phone. I know. It's just, there is something Apple knows video. Ever since the iPhone 4, whatever it is that they made, that they did there, like if I'm doing an Instagram story, like I get dynamic range from an iPhone that I don't get on Android. If I'm like, people have no idea that, like, I could give you so many cases of videos that I've done where it is an iPhone doing the backup on a gimbal. And so long as you've got good daylight, an iPhone is good enough. Like, it's just, I have a hard time being able to tell the difference of 4K at 60 on my iPhone with good light. And obviously, depending on whatever lens I was using, if I'm using my Panasonic GH5 with a kit lens, it's sort of like that. Like, it's to that level, you know, both at 4K
so the
and 60.
iPhone is your pick for video right now?
For video, like, and it's been my pick for many years. It's just, I've tried everything. Like, I've used V30s, I've used the V40, I've used all the Mates, all the Galaxies. Like, it doesn't really matter if these cameras have manual controls and everything. It's just once you pull the footage into the computer and you notice the results, you can see the jittery movement, you can see the codec, just like the over sharpening of the borders and the corners, and it's just, for me, it's disappointing. Sadly, that's all I'm missing. But I, before I remember that we were going to talk about the V20. I really want to hear what you think about the V20 in both photography and video.
Well, I haven't used it much for video. Like, what to me as a you're a pro video creator. I just do videos really quickly for fun on my channel as a supplement to the podcast on YouTube. I feel like the reason that I'm shooting with a Pixel 3, at least with an external mic, because the built-in mic sucks, is because it has the stabilization. Yeah. No, I don't need to carry a gimbal. And that's what I also love about the Mate 20 Pro, the P20 Pro, the View 20, is they have really good stabilization. But I agree with you that I see the results and it feels like a phone, whereas to a lesser extent, I agree with you on the iPhone, it looks the best in terms of the end result when you import it. And I feel Samsung's pretty good too, but you're right, it's not quite there. And I don't know, I think you're right, maybe it's codec, maybe it's, there are more kind of cinema people on the team at Apple, but I want to see that change because I feel like, I would love to have a device I don't have to put on a tripod or gimbal that I can shoot with that just is solid, and I feel like the iPhone, while it's amazing, doesn't have the stabilization chops.
On video?
No, it doesn't equate the same quality AI stabilization as the Mate 20. The Mate 20 Pro is the best in stabilization to me.
So here's the thing. It is like, it's funny. You want to know which is my favorite in stabilization? OnePlus 6T.
Oh, interesting.
It is.
I wouldn't even think of shooting video on the OnePlus 6T.
It is gimbal like good. It is crazy good. It's so good. It's just the problem is, again, we go back to, in the case of Android video, you need a lot of light. And even then, the EIS, it's like, it provides this like warpiness when you walk. And so you can, like, there have been cases in certain videos that I've done where you can even tell that there are parts of the video that it's like if one part is warping and the other one is not, depending on how low. Like if you wanted to make a video at the golden hour with an iPhone, with any Android phone, forget it. If I need to bring a cell phone camera for golden hour, I will bring an iPhone.
Oh, I understand that. And I think it's because the iPhone doesn't use electronic stabilization. Not in the sense that, like, not as aggressively as Pixel or Mate
I feel that the XS does bring some, because
but it doesn't dilute the experience.
Exactly. And to a certain degree, it just, if you're a cinematographer, you sometimes actually do want for things to not look like if Morticia Addams is walking. Like you actually want a little of that realism just to add to the video to a certain degree. If you're vlogging, you want people to walk with you in the take.
Yeah,
you just don't want to, make people puke out of how jittery the thing is. You don't want that. So I feel that it's like the best of both worlds.
No, I think you're right. But I just don't feel it's stabilized enough for me when I'm just, in my kind of like, I guess not just for me, but for the average person,
True that.
That doesn't really pay attention. Like if you're intentionally filming, you can buy one of those little Xiaomi gimbals, right?
Yeah.
Or DJI makes a great one, right? And you're perfectly fine, right? You're good to go with the iPhone. I think you solved that last mile problem of stabilization.
As a vlogging tool, like the iPhone is the vlogging phone, particularly the XS with their audio improvements. Like it's funny, just like their microphones are crazy. It's like, forget your shotgun microphone, forget any of this. Just if you're vlogging, just stick to an iPhone. Just let the iPhone do its work. Oh, you know what other phone was really good? Back in its time, the HTC 10.
Oh,
that was probably like
they had the front camera stabilized.
Exactly. And the microphones. Like it had the directional microphone technology. Like it knew that if you were the closest subject to it and you're in the middle of a crowd, it would pick your audio instead of everything around it.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
That's cool. I want to touch a little quickly more on the View 20's other stuff I like. Okay, so the photography, it's definitely up there. For a mid-ranger, it's better than the 6T. So if you're buying a phone at that critical $500, $600 price point right now, and you're cross-shopping with the Honor View 20 and the OnePlus 6T, and imaging is what matters to you, buy the Honor.
Yeah.
Because it beats the OnePlus 6T in terms of imaging in every category. Is it as good as a Mate 20 Pro or a P20 Pro or
that's
even a
my
Mate 20?
question.
I don't know.
That's my question.
It's not as good, but in some ways the Honor View 20 is a one-trick pony because it has that, quad buyer 48 megapixel sensor. And so as a result, you can do all this cool pixel binning, really good low light performance because you have essentially 1.6 micron pixels when you shoot at 12 megapixels because you're binning, even though the pixels are 0.8 micron at 48 megapixels. So it has really good low light out of the box, and I feel like I'm not needing the night mode as much and not benefiting as much from the night mode. And then, of course, it has, that crazy ultra clarity 48 megapixel, which you can keep zooming, and it's like, wow, right?
Oh my God.
And it's interesting because I almost would recommend, if you have a View 20, that you don't bother with the 2x zoom, the digital zoom, which is like basically a hybrid zoom that does like all kinds of pixel binning for zooming, because you better off shooting at 48 megapixel ultra clarity and getting a crop of that.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? It's that good. So that's why I'm impressed with the View 20. That and the price and the build quality and materials and that gorgeous IPS panel. The hole punch is amazing. Once you see it, you're like, of course, every phone should be like that. No more notch, even a teardrop notch getting in the way of your videos. It's down at the bottom left corner if you're watching landscape. It's perfect. It's really great. Kirin 980. It's honestly, here's the thing that blows my mind the most, Jaime. Performance. Mm-hmm. It feels faster than OnePlus 6T.
For me, the Kirin 980 is the Kirin 980. It's just if only
it feels faster than a 6T.
If only they gave me the option to get rid of EMUI. And even there are things about EMUI that I like.
They rebranded it. It's called Magic now.
It's magic for them.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
I don't know. I feel that the user interface, to a certain degree, I like EMUI because it's a little more Spartan in its animations. There aren't any, and so it feels faster. But then that's just about it. Like, there are so many unnecessary hurdles to do certain things that just don't make sense. Or, Michael Fisher and I always complain. Like, I have to tell Michael that I figured out how to disable that pinch to call on to.
Oh, yeah.
I figured out how to disable that. I just don't remember how, but like I figured it out. And so now my life with the Mate 20 Pro is happy. That was
I think it's in the settings. Look for whatever it was called and you can disable it there.
Yeah.
I had the same epiphany, by the way. But yeah, so overall, like, the phone is amazing for the money. Great build quality, great material, great specs. The camera has got some really cool, unique features. You can't go wrong with this phone. As I said, to me, right now, if I had to pick between that and 6T, I would really have to think hard because the 6T only gives me two advantages: kind of stockish Android and more like quicker, more updates more often, right?
Yeah.
The Honor View 20 comes with 9 out of the box, the latest security pack and everything. So it's really updated. I can live with the MUI because I just skin it. I put like another launcher Nova or something and I'm happy.
Yeah.
But that's a tough call. Like, to me, imaging definitely wins on the View 20. Performance, 4,000 milliamp hour battery. I mean, the thing is a champ. And the Kirin 980 just blows my mind. I installed apps yesterday from the App Store. I'm just like, from the Google Play Store, and I'm like, wait, you're done? Like, did you finish? You installed? I'm like, wow. It was just insane.
I think I would pick the View 20. It's just, you mentioned things like that it's a one-trick pony, but it's not just any trick.
No, the camera a little bit, right? Because of that ultra high res.
But if you think about it, it's not just any trick. This is like, out of all tricks, this is the one you should get right, And so it's like, for me, I'm down. Like, if you think about it, the 6T, it's trick. If we were going to call that a one-trick pony, it's powerful specs for the money. And so here you have powerful specs and a great camera for the money.
Yeah.
I
know. It's great. So listen, there's a few more topics I want to quickly go over, news items. We talked about Samsung's S10. There's also a leak of the Samsung Sport Watch, which is basically similar to the Galaxy Watch, but more geared towards sports. And it looks like it has very little bezel, which is really interesting. It doesn't even look like it has the ring that rotates around the edge.
I was going to tell you. So it looks like if they're killing the rotating bezel, and I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to complain.
No, it looks cool, honestly, because like low bezel looks good on a phone. It's going to look great on a watch too.
Am I the only person that doesn't like the rotating bezel? Like, I don't find I find the user experience counterintuitive because you have to rotate the bezel, but then you have to press the screen. Like, I wish that the bezel had like a heat tap. Yeah.
I could live without it, but I have to say, from an engineering perspective, I'm amazed that bezel, with all the banging against hard surfaces and water and everything else, still works like day one. It's an incredibly well-engineered device. Yours is failed?
In my Gear S3, like, you can already hear the bezel like crackling. Whenever my watch vibrates, you can hear the crackling. On the Galaxy Watch, it's better.
Okay.
But on my
I only
Gear
have that as a point of reference. So
yeah, but my Gear S3 I use that watch a lot, and it didn't age well in that perspective.
I hear you. Quick thing, Vivo V15 Pro rumors. I think you covered this.
Oh my God, does that look real or does it look like Photoshop? All those
No,
lenses.
it's real, but we saw a leaked photo. Look, I love Chinese phones that are just weird. And give me a phone with a electric pop-up front camera and a freaking triple camera rear and make it weird. I'll take it. I'll try it out. It's just, I'm kind of excited about this form factor madness we have going on. And in that sense, I'm super excited about the Energizer announcement because they have full screen phones at probably a pretty low price point. It's kind of cool.
So long as when you hold them, they don't feel like, a blue phone, or an elephone.
Well, let's see what happens at MWC. I'm just saying, look, I'm excited to see, bring on the crazy. Like, come on, go all out.
Agreed. And we got to hand it to to all the companies under the umbrella of Vivo. No, so what's the company, BBK?
Yeah.
They've got
Oppo and OnePlus, basically.
OnePlus and Vivo. My God. These people, if you think about it, think about the rotating camera that they came up with back in the day with an Oppo N3. The only bad part about that camera was the camera. The camera was terrible, but the idea was fantastic.
Yeah.
And that phone, the design of that phone. So one of the coolest things of meeting these people from Oppo and all these companies, Miriam, they're all young. I feel like the oldest guy in the room every time I'm there. And so their designer was this girl that was 23 years old and did an internship in Samsung. And here she comes with these crazy designs. And they actually, she was pretty much the first person to come in that helped the surgence of Oppo into being what it is. And so, they're doing some really cool stuff. They got to work on their software, but their hardware is legit.
I love it. Speaking of which, I've got an Oppo R17 incoming. It's in customs, probably because of the government shutdown.
I'm upset. I'm the only guy that hasn't gotten one.
Just ping Alex. He'll send you one.
I will.
Red Magic Mars is in the house. I have to unbox it, but I have one. So
Miriam, how has that been? Wow, nice.
If you guys know how much I love the Pocophone F1, I'm really curious to put this phone through its paces to see how good it is.
I'm just I finally did my review of the Razer Phone 2 a couple of days ago for me.
My condolences.
No, I actually like that phone. After 4 software updates, the camera's actually usable.
I've been using the Pixel 3 camera on that phone. It's pretty good.
So I've heard. But the thing about it is, what I mentioned in my review is all right, so I like the concept of the gaming phone. I love the design of this phone. My Raiju mobile controller is finally here. This is all great.
Oh, yeah. The Raiju is cool. I just unboxed it.
You want to know what's missing, Miriam?
What?
The games. Where are the games?
Yeah, of course. It's Android.
Because I'm like, all right. So, when you have companies like Huawei giving you the premise that the Mate 20X is going to compete with the Nintendo Switch, I'm like, oh, that's a very tall order. That is a very tall order. But if you think about it from an architecture perspective, and you're an engineer, Miriam, how much different is a Nintendo Switch to an Android phone?
It isn't. I'm really thinking that, if you want a good gaming phone right now, go buy a View 20.
Yeah, but the problem...
You're a 980.
Yeah, but the problem is the games. Android games
that's my
suck.
point. Don't spend the money on a gaming phone. Buy a Pocophone F1. You get same performance, and you can play all the kind of games on Android.
Exactly. And so, and my experience with the Raiju controller is the amount of games that are supported by the controller are not only bad, they're old. They're mostly old games. If you want to play Fortnite, I believe just launched support 2 days ago after my video went up, obviously.
Of course.
But even so, it hasn't deployed to everybody, and apparently people are already complaining that the experience is trash. And so I'm like, why can't Android get this right? Why is it that we already have the phones, we have the hardware, but then the games, and it's just Android?
Because Nintendo refuses to publish their games on iOS and Android.
But that's the thing. Like, do we need that? Are you telling me that there is no expertise?
As somebody who worked in the game industry for 18 years, what makes a game is not whatever hardware you run it on. It's having a creative studio that creates games that are compelling and fun to play and have really good gaming experiences. And unfortunately, those people right now live in the console world and are slowly coming into mobile, but they're not there yet.
And that's
why if you give them a Switch developer kit, and they look at it as a console and they treat it as a console and the games rock.
Yeah. And then that's one thing. The second thing is how much these mobile games want to nickel and dime you. Like if you want to launch Asphalt 9, try to do the math right now when you grab that Nubia Magic Mars. Just do the math of how many steps you have to follow just to be able to start playing the damn thing, because of how much they want you. They want you to get bonus points and they want you to get a new kit, but then they have to sell that to you. And I'm like, really? I just want to play my damn game, man. Come on.
Yeah. I found that true of a lot of racing games. Look, I'm going to actually evaluate the Red Magic Mars as a day-to-day Snapdragon 845 smartphone. I'm going to treat it like a normal phone, like I did with the Razer, like I did with the ROG, Republic Gamer phone, because I feel that this is the angle that few people are taking. There are a lot of people like, can you make the Poco phone into a gaming phone? Can you make the Pixel 3 into a game phone? Of course you can. Look at the specs.
You can. Yeah.
But how bad is it? How much do you compromise when you buy a Red Magic Mars? Right. And because you're a gamer and you'll play the games and you'll benefit from the gaming on it. But how much you compromise the everyday experience? Is the camera still good? Is it, are there little weirdnesses in the UI that make you get really cranky after a while? That's the kind of stuff I want to look at.
Good. So I'm looking forward to your review.
One last thing before we wrap up quickly, I want to let the audience know that I have received a ZTE Blade Max View and a ZTE Blade Max 2S, which are 179 or whatever, 170 something, and $199 unlocked phones available from ZTE in the US. Now that they've paid their fines and are back in the good graces of the great regime. So I will let you know what I think, maybe at some point in the podcast. Don't expect too much, folks, here. On the plus side, you'll see a lot of Blade Max View reviews that mention it runs Android 7. But the good news is it's now got updated to Oreo last night. So at least both phones are on Oreo now, which with the Snapdragon 840, not 845, with the Snapdragon 435 is still a very painful experience. That's all you really need to know.
But I was seeing your unboxing. It's like, regardless, they don't look ugly. Like, they don't look like cheap
No, they're
phones.
not bad at all. Like, honestly, the displays are really nice on them. The camera perform okay for the price point. Yeah. But it's no Moto G6, True. And that's the thing. And speaking of which, I'm going to put this in the show notes. I think because I know we have to wrap it up. But there are leaks starting to come out with the Moto G7, the successor to the amazing G6 last year. So I'm really hoping that Moto keeps up the good work, because their G series has been a gem, hence the G for gem, for years.
Yeah.
Right?
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I did see a couple of rumors on that. It's just,
it's inevitable we're going to see some MWC. They always announce them at MWC. So.
Yeah, but I want that Razer flip phone, man.
Oh, well, I don't think we're going to see. Have you heard anything from Moto?
No, not really. Right. From some sources, I hear that it might be in June.
Oh,
at the time,
that makes more sense.
At the time when we usually hear about the Z phones.
It's the new Z.
Most probably.
But it's going to be called V because it folds in half like a V. And the V3 was the code name for the Razer. So.
And if you think about it, it's like the Moto Mod ecosystem, this was the last year to support them.
Haha, suckers. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm such a bitch. Those of you with Z phones, I love you. I'm sorry. You should have a eulogy for your Z phones, okay? Write it. I will edit it for you and post it on the internet. Seriously, if you write a eulogy for the Z phone, I will put it on, I will get someone that I know to publish it on one of the big blogs. But I will edit it first and put my name on it because I'm like that. Jaime, do you want to pitch your site and your stuff? Tell people where they can find you on the internet.
As usual in Pocketnow, at Pocketnow everywhere, and in my personals, I'm mostly on Instagram at my name, at Jaime Rivera, just all together.
And what an Instagram it is. Check it out, folks. Lots of great travel photos there.
I learned from you. I learned from the pro.
What's my favorite thing about all of us journalists is that we're also, kind of travel vloggers in many ways. Vloggers, bloggers, photographers, whatever, because we travel so much. It's great.
It is cool, yeah.
You guys... You folks, everyone out there, know where to find me. I'm at Tankgirl on the internet. That's TNKGRL, like the comic book character without the vowels. And that's on Twitter and Instagram. That's my handle. I didn't get it on YouTube. So youtube.com/Miriam Jouar, my full name spelled out Miriam with a Y. That's where you're going to find the Mobile Tech Podcast channel, basically a supplement to this show. Please subscribe, tell your friends, get our page views up on the YouTube. It would help support the show. And of course, subscribe to this podcast. mobiletechpodcast.com is where we're at. We're on all the major podcasting platforms, Apple, Google, Pocket Cast, Overcast, TuneIn Radio, even if you have an account there. You don't actually need an account for TuneIn. You can just get the podcast directly there. I want to thank our sponsor as well before we go real quick. Audible is our sponsor for the show. Audible.com is the place to go for audiobooks. If you love reading, but you cannot for some reason read physical paper or e-paper, this is the place to go to get your fix. They have an incredible selection of books read by incredible people, and it's just wonderful if you're driving, commuting, something. In addition to your podcast collection, just go to audible.com and get some books to listen to. You'll support the podcast if you click through the link in the show notes and by signing up. And so if you don't have Audible already, you get 30-day free trial, all that good stuff. Audibletrial.com/mobiletech is the link. That's audibletrial.com/mobiletech. Thanks, Jaime, for being on the show. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for the invite. Always a pleasure.
We were nerding out like crazy there. It was great. So... That's kind of like why I like having Jaime on. It's like we're sitting at a coffee shop talking about, ranting and raving about whatever is going on in our minds right now. It's great.
Let's actually do that in Barcelona. How about that?
Oh, we need to. I'm sure there'll be plenty of opportunities towards the end of the week. So let's do that for sure. Yeah.
You're on. Definitely.
All right, folks. Stay tuned for another show next week. I'll have another guest and we'll see you then. Cheers, everybody.
This has been the Mobile Tech Podcast with Tankgirl, proudly presented by worldpodcasts.com. You can visit us online at mobiletechpodcast.com.